Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Country Boy Cryptids. We have a special guest tonight, Mr. Al Santariga. Um, he uh, he has over 50 years of experience in all aspects of the paranormal field. He is an investigator, researcher, cryptozoologist, founder of the Bronxville Paranormal Society, director of the New York State UFO Project, director of the New York State Sasquatch Organization, director of the New York State Dogman Project. He's a lecturer, a speaker, an interviewee on all aspects of paranormal. He's an ex-podcaster and co-host of the critically acclaimed Beyond the Realm digital radio network show. And he's also featured in author Frank R. Santariga's book, Paranormal Family and Friends. Welcome to the show, Al. How you doing?
Hey, Chris. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Oh, it's an honor to have you.
No, it's not. I'm a nobody. I'm just a regular guy, just like you.
You're the Squatchfather.
I'm the Squatchfather. I got a lot of nicknames, believe me. Before I was the Squatchfather, I was Alex File. You know what I mean? Because of all my experience, when I first started this podcast stuff back when it was basically all ex-radio guys, in the beginning, and one of the guys nicknamed me the Alex File Santariga because I had so many experiences. He goes, I can bring you on like 100 times, you know what I mean? For like 100 different things. And then that kind of went away. And then recently, I think it was Tom Cardos. No, I'm sorry. It was Chris Reinhardt from Discover Sasquatch, Berkshire Mountain Bigfoot. He gave me the nickname Squatchfather, and it just kind of stuck. As a matter of fact, I met I don't know if you know who he is, John Zaffis, the Haunted Collector.
No, I don't think I've met him yet.
John is he had his own TV show called The Haunted Collector. He's a paranormal guy, strictly paranormal, and his nickname is the Paranormal Godfather. So when I met him recently on an investigation, he was like, "What's this Squatchfather stuff?" No, it's got nothing to do with the paranormal. You're the Godfather, John. You're the Godfather. So I said, this was just a nickname that was thrown on me recently, but it's got nothing to do with paranormal. Just Bigfoot,
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean, the last time we spoke, I think we were talking about dens and stuff.
Yeah.
You had Chris on, not Chris, Kyle on the show, and Kyle had mentioned a documentary to watch about a nest or whatever, and I watched it, and then I called you, and we had a long conversation about different kinds of nests and how they're made and yada yada yada. We both kind of agreed that the thing those kids found, I don't know if that was in Oklahoma or Texas or where it was it probably not. I didn't see them video the inside of it, so I'm only talking about what I see in the outside, and from what I see on the outside, I don't really think it was a nest. But I think you told me that they did have video from being inside, but in that documentary they didn't show any video from the inside, so I don't know. But I do have family who work for the Parks Department, and I got two nieces. They're both out west. One is in New Mexico. One is in California. And they of course they come across nests all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they don't publicize it and this, that, and the other thing. But as a matter of fact, I believe when we were talking, Kyle was talking about this thing he found that was like a tunnel that went left and right and left and right. And he got about halfway in and he stopped and he got scared. His spidey senses told him to back out at that point,
Yeah.
And so we were talking, and I said, I was talking to my niece, and she was telling me about a hunter who went missing one fall, and he went missing, and they looked for him high and low, and they couldn't find him, and year goes by or 2, 3 years go by. Never found this guy, not even his rifle. And he's just like one of those 411 guys, just disappeared off the face of the earth. And one day, one of the park rangers was just walking around the park. He was off trail and he was at a lower elevation. And he seen, as he was coming up the elevation, he seen something that looked like a tunnel, like Kyle said,
Yeah.
And he went in it. And he said, again, it went straight, it went left, it went right, and it left. Almost like a groundhog kind of den, you know what I mean? And there's no way you could have seen it from the outside. Like if you would have been standing at the same level of the nest, like on the, you wouldn't have noticed it. It would have just looked like bushes and pricker bushes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he went in it, and he said when he got in it, it opened up into a big open area. He said it was like 50 feet in diameter. And he said on one side of the circle was nothing but bones. It was a boneyard.
Oh wow!
And the other side was clean, and one side was a boneyard. And when he was going through the bones, because originally he thought it may have been, maybe a big cat's den or something, And
yeah.
He was going through the bones, and most of them were deer bones and animal bones. But he did come across a human skull. And then when he called the other, when he called it in, and they all came out, and they actually just cut right through it when they went in to get it, and they put a whole skeleton together, and underneath all the bones and everything, they did find the hunter's gun.
Oh, that's crazy.
They did I think a dental thing on his skull, and they found it was his dental record. And so I'm glad Kyle didn't go all the way in.
Right. Right.
She didn't. She when she told me the story, she was leaning towards more of a dog man den than a Sasquatch den. Just on the way it was made. Because it would have just been. It was the height of it was made for something that was on all fours.
Yeah.
It would be more natural on all fours than on two legs. But so that was a really interesting thing we discussed the day we talked on the phone for a couple hours. And
yeah, we did.
So, we talked for a long time. Yeah.
How big was the, like, when they was going through it? Like, was it completely covered?
Yeah, it was like a tunnel. Yeah,
wow.
You ever see those things that the dogs run through?
Yeah,
like on those shows and everything, when the dogs jump over to all the stuff and everything, and they run through a tunnel.
Yeah.
Well, picture a tunnel big enough for, say, a German Shepherd or something that size. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And they said when they got on the inside, whatever created it pulled all the bushes and the branches and everything. It pushed everything straight up. So all around it was like an 8-foot wall of shrubs, So you couldn't actually see in unless you were above it on like a ridge or something looking down.
Right.
But to actually get in, you had to go through this tunnel. And she said it went left and right and left and right. And then it finally opened up, and it was pretty crazy, And they said when they got in there, when they told the forestry department about it, they just came in and they just cut their way through, you know what I mean? Because they didn't know what it was,
Right.
As a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, I believe she said when they were done doing all the forensic evidence and stuff and collecting all the bones and everything, they may have, I think, even did a controlled burn.
Wow.
Yeah. Just to get rid of all the evidence,
Right.
You don't want to leave any evidence around for anybody to find.
Right.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I'm lucky enough that I have two nieces that work in the parks departments and national park, and they give me info all the time. I'll pick their brains all the time, and and they're like, Uncle Al, like, when it comes to like a Bigfoot, you know what I mean? It's it's in their handbook, right? They have a handbook that
Uh-huh.
says if you come across a Bigfoot, if campers come across a Bigfoot, this is what you do. You just take the campers out of that area and you move them to another location and you just leave that area alone. You don't put anybody else in there.
Yeah.
But if campers come across a dog man, it's a whole different animal. They take the campers out of there, but then they close that whole side of the mountain down. They'll close off the whole side of a mountain if
That's
it's
crazy.
if campers come across a dog man, yeah. But with Bigfoots, they don't. They just move the people out of the area, and usually that's all it takes. But yeah, and there's actually a law on the Federal Registry. I'm not going to say what department it's, and let's just call it the Forestry Registry.
Okay.
A, uh, it's very well. I mean, it's not well known. All right,
Yeah.
and it's only in federal land. This is only federal land. If you kill a Bigfoot, it's 10 years in jail mandatory and $10,000 fine, and there's no negotiating that.
Oh my gosh.
So if you kill a Bigfoot in a national park, you better get out of Dodge before they find out who did it, because you will spend 10 years in a federal prison. Yeah, and it will cost your family $10,000.
So do you think they're protecting them? I mean, honestly, and all.
What I think they're doing is, I think they're protecting them anonymously without letting people know. Like they're not calling them an instinct, animal or something like that, extinct animal, because then they have to admit they exist. But if you know anything about national parks and stuff like that, you're not allowed to bring any guns in there anyway on federal land. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so if you go in there with a gun and then you kill something that's not supposed to exist,
You're in trouble.
you're in for a lot of hurt. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I ever went camping in Yellowstone, I would be bringing my guns. You
Well,
know what
yeah.
I
I
mean?
mean, you got grizzly bears, you
Yeah,
got
I would.
wolves, you
I
got.
would bring my pistol and my shotgun, my pistol grip shotgun. I would rather go to jail for 10 years than have an animal eat my family. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I mean, but you take the risk, because if you do get caught, you will go to jail.
And you
But
also got to worry about other people too. That's the bad thing.
yeah, you
Not
don't
just
know who's roaming around those parks,
right.
and I'm sure there are part of those parks. Those parks are so big. I'm sure there's parts of those parks where humans haven't been in years. You know what I mean? And it could
Exactly.
be people living in caves somewhere off the grid in those national parks, and coming out once in a blue moon, maybe. You know what I mean? Just to rummage around somebody's campsite, or if you're so far off trail, you may be a target to these, people. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
no, I would never go in. I would never go in unarmed, but that's me.
Well, we know that Theodore Roosevelt, who started all this, the national park stuff, did a story about Bigfoot, in that book that he wrote.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's kind of baffling, you know what I mean? Like, is that why he started in the national parks? Was because of
It
that?
could be. That could be one of the reasons. I mean, he said, I believe he said in that book he actually killed one, didn't he?
It's been a while since
Yeah,
I
yeah. I don't remember I don't remember it exactly, but I know he had two people that were with him. That one was killed by one, and one was injured by one. And I don't want to talk out of turn, but I think that they actually went in with his group and actually killed one. You know what I mean? I think they killed the one that killed one of the guys, one of his friends, something to that effect. Yeah, something to that effect. I don't remember exactly how it went down, but I know there was two guides that were with him, and one of them was killed by him. And And I think he was killed by. I don't think it was just one. I think it was like a family unit that attacked these two guides, and one got away and one died. And then Roosevelt went back with like a group of hunters, well-known hunters, and I think they took them out or something to that effect. But and they're still doing that to this day. They're
Oh
still
yeah,
going out with and taking out nuisance animals. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Now let's get back to the dog man.
okay.
What's your thoughts on them? Are they evil? Are they interdimensional? Or are they flesh and blood? Or
Not well. I don't think they're evil. I
yeah,
honest to God, I don't think they're evil. I think if they were just out for blood, there would be more. They would find more people mauled. They would find more dead bodies in the woods. I don't think they're. I think they're very territorial.
mm-hmm,
And I think they don't like dealing with humans at all. I think when they're in our dimension, they're flesh and blood, and they can be killed. You just have to know where to shoot them to kill them. I
mm-hmm,
mean, it's not an easy shot. You know what I mean? So I mean, if you had to take that shot, you would have to take it from a distance, so you'd have time to actually get it off. And then you'd have to hit something that's moving. So really have to be a really sharp, or you'd have to just be like a special ops team where everybody's just unloading at once, and then you'll probably hit the spots you need to hit.
yeah,
But no, I think they are interdimensional. I think they come from another realm. I think they come here to hunt because the food is plentiful in this dimension. You know what I mean? I don't think they stay here all the time. I think they'll come and go. I think they may migrate through if they decide to stay here in our dimension. Then I think they'll do like a pack like wolves do and pick out a range, and they'll migrate through that range in a circular motion. Let's call it a clockwise, right?
yeah,
This way they don't kill all the food source in any particular area. If they're staying at 12 o'clock for 3 months, then they move to 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And by the time they get back to 12 o'clock, it's been a year, and the food source has a chance to replenish itself. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. That's what I believe. I don't think they're evil. I just don't think they're fond of humans. I think they know what we can do, and we're dangerous. And I think, but I don't think they're bloodthirsty killers either. I mean, look, are you going to get a rogue one that's going to come here with a bad attitude every now and then? Absolutely. Yeah. Are you going to get a adolescent that's in heat and he's just running around crazy? Maybe. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I don't think. I think they are pack animal. I think there's an anarchy to the pack. There's a leader, and everybody stays in line. And if you don't, you get thrown out of the pack, and you're on your own. And I think when these young bucks that are feeling their oats get thrown out of a pack, those are the ones that are killing people, because they're just taking advantage of easy prey. We're easy. We're very easy to kill. This doesn't take much to kill us. And if we don't have a gun in our hand or a knife or a machete in our hand, it's very hard to take out something that's 7, 8, 9 feet tall, 500 pounds, and has, Freddy Krueger fingers. So
yeah. It's an
they could just,
ultimate killing machine.
yeah, it's just rip you to shreds, just shreds you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're easy prey, and just like any animal that's hunting, that's hungry. I mean, you hear it all the time with these mountain lions out in California. These people are riding their bikes off trail. These mountain bikers, or people hiking on Sundays, and they're not paying attention to where they are, and they get jumped by a mountain lion from behind off a rock or a tree, or a biker gets hit. You know what I mean? It usually will take the last person online, and then usually there's enough of people to come back and fight the animal off to save the one who's been attacked. But every now and then they get one, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they are some scary stories I've heard, but like you said, that could have just been them trying to scare someone out of their habitat.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. You know, we were bluff charged. I've been bluff charged by one. We didn't know what it was because it was dark. We couldn't see it. But we were bluff charged, and we stood our ground. We pulled our machetes to defend ourselves because we didn't know what was coming up the ridge. But there was something coming up the ridge on all fours, and it was coming. You know what I mean?
Uh huh.
And you know, we were where are we going to run? We're 4 miles in the middle of the woods. We're going to run into a tree and knock ourselves out and get eaten alive. You know. So
Right,
I
right.
made sure everybody stood their ground and pulled either their long knives or their machetes out, and whatever it was stopped on the other side. There was a little like 3-foot wall, and it stopped on the other side of that wall, and it never came over that wall. Now, could that have come over that wall and killed all three of us? Absolutely. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But maybe it seen those long knives and said, you know what? I could get hurt here. And it's better to just walk away than to go over this wall and get into a life or death battle, because maybe we turned out we were right above its den. We didn't know, you
Uh
know,
huh.
and we didn't find that out for 6 months later. But so it may have had pups in the den and it just wanted us out of the area, you know. But we didn't know that. We were dealing with a Bigfoot, so we thought it was a Bigfoot charging up the ridge. You know, actually, I didn't even think at that time. I didn't even know if Bigfoot did bluff charges. Honest to God, I thought it was either a black bear or a mountain lion coming up the ridge. That's what I really thought it was. You know, I
Uh
didn't think it
huh.
was. I didn't think it was a cryptid, but it didn't matter what was ever coming over that ridge. It was going to be a fight for our lives, you know, one way or the other.
Oh,
So
no doubt.
I
Yeah.
told everybody, you know, stand their ground and pull their machetes or whatever knife they feel comfortable with, the survival knife or the machete. I think we were in a lot of trees, so I think I pulled my survival knife because it would just work better in between the trees. The
Uh huh.
machetes may have got stuck hitting trees. I think my partner Brian pulled his machete, and I think our cameraman Bill pulled his machete. But they were further back from me, so they were a little bit more in the opening, so
Mm-hmm.
they could actually swing a long knife like that. But I was closer to the wall and in more trees, so I looked and I said, "Yeah, long knife is not going to do me any good here. I have to get the survival knife out, you know." And but thank God it didn't come over the ridge, and we never heard it leave, and we never heard it jump off the ridge. And I took a photograph. One photograph, I did capture an image of it, but I didn't see it in the photograph. I didn't find out it was in the photograph for like 6 months later from somebody from California seen our stuff online, and he found it. You know, I didn't even find it. But we did jump over that stone wall to see what bluff charged us, you know.
Uh
And
huh.
we had a full spectrum camera and a IR camera and a thermal camera and a low light camera, and we had a 1500 luma flashlight that lit up the woods like daytime, and we never seen anything leave or heard anything leave. But the swamp was underneath us, and the den was in the swamp, and it wouldn't have took much for it to jump from where it was onto a really big rock by the swamp, and then just kind of creep into the den. We would have never heard it, you know.
Right.
But we weren't there for the swamp. We were there for something else. It just
Right.
happened to be in that location. But my very first Dogman experience happened on the Taconic Parkway in Dutchess County, New York, here in the Hudson Valley. Um, Going to work one morning, 4:30 in the morning. The only guy on the parkway that early, and commuting down towards the city, 60 miles away, 65 miles away, and I see four yellow eyes coming out of the tree line. Now, this particular location was a meadow where the deer usually grazed in the morning, and I seen this and I stopped my Jeep because I thought maybe they were Bigfoots, you know what I mean? So I
Mm-hmm.
stopped my Jeep and I look and I'm looking and I'm looking and I see these yellow eyes and they're walking towards the meadow. They're coming out towards the meadow. And then I and I like I said, I thought they were Bigfoots, and then I seen them do something. They went down on all four. These two creatures went down on all four, and when they went down on all four, one of them looked at me. And when this creature looked at me and we locked eyes, I felt like I was in a trance, like I was being hypnotized. And I'm looking at this thing and it's looking at me, and then all of a sudden they started running towards me, right?
Oh wow! Oh
And
man.
I seen the necks bobbing up and down. At the time, I had a 125-pound German Shepherd, so I knew this wasn't a Sasquatch because Sasquatch don't even have necks.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh man, this is like a little light bulb went on in my head. It's like this isn't a Bigfoot. This is a dog man. Look at those necks bobbing up and down." And they're getting closer and they're getting closer, and I'm not moving. I'm just like stuck in this trance. And then I heard a little voice in the back of my head said, maybe a good time to get going. And at that point, I rolled up the window on the Jeep and I punched it out and I started to pull away from them. And as I was pulling away, I tapped my brakes to see if they had come on the parkway. They were chasing me down. But when I tapped my brakes, it lit up the parkway enough where I seen both of them stop and their heads went like this, like they caught whiffed of something, like deer maybe, and they
Mm-hmm.
just both turned and they ran north up the parkway, and I figured they may have caught whiff of a deer. And then I got to work, and around lunchtime, I called my partner Brian, and I was like, "Dude, you're not gonna believe what happened. I don't know. I don't know what I saw. I think I saw it, too." And I'm explaining to him what I just explained to you. And he's like, "You got to go back and you got to investigate the location."
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, "Nah, there's nothing there. There's a little patch of woods. There's a high school back there, a city hall. There's nothing there." And he's like, "You got to go back and investigate the location. You got to go back." So I was like, "Okay." So that was like a Monday. And Tuesday, I noticed there was a green Environmental Protection Agency truck on the parkway, like on the lawn. And I was like, what's that doing there? I've never seen these people before here. And
That's kind of strange.
I
Yeah.
go to work, there's never anybody in the truck. I come home, there's nobody in the truck. 3 days back and forth, no one ever in the truck. Then the EPA truck left, and another state not EPA, but another environmental group from the state, another like a brother organization was there. I forgot which one it was, and they were again. It's sitting in the middle of the field with a deer, and there's never anybody in the truck. And I go down, I come home, I go down, I come home. Finally, get Sunday off, and I go to the where I seen them first come out, and I measure the tree line that they came out of, and the tree line was 8 feet high. They had cut the branches. Hey, kiddo! They had cut the branches on the trees high enough so that that the tractors could get underneath it and cut the grass, without hitting the top of the
Yeah.
tractors.
Yeah.
And then so I measured that. That was 8 feet high. So then
Wait, we should
behind,
go
I
to
went.
the grave. We should go to graves.
You guys be good.
So that,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. So then I went into the little patch of woods, and there was a stream there, and I seen people fishing. So I went down into the stream, and they're like, yeah, the New York State stocks the stream with trout around this time of the year.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, okay, there's fish in the stream, there's fresh water here. So I follow the stream, I go under the roadway, I come out on the other side, and there's a condo complex. and there's a giant lake, and there's swans in the lake, and there's geese in the lake, and there's ducks in the lake, and there's frogs and fish and turtles. I'm thinking, man, there's a lot of food source right here, you know. And
Right.
I thought I knew the place like the back of my hand because my kids went to school there and they played soccer on those fields. You know what I mean? I thought I knew everything, but I didn't know anything. So then I walk past the condo complexes. I go past them, not an eighth of a mile or something like that, and it opens up to a giant cornfield, you know. And I'm saying, okay, corn equals deer, deer equals predators, and I'm thinking, man, there's more food source here than I could have ever imagined for a big predator. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then it made sense to me why they were in that area at that time. Not only were they hunting the deer that graze on the meadow, but they were probably coming from the cornfield and working their way out, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I would have never even known that if my partner didn't force me to go back and investigate, because I was so sure I knew of everything, you know?
But you got to figure that corn brings in deer, raccoon, possums, turkeys,
everything, absolutely, you know. And it's just for some reason the little light bulb never went on, you know. But there was plenty of food there, and that was the very first time that I had an encounter with what I believe to be two dog men, and they were hunting together. And then, like I said, we had this investigation out in the woods where we were bluff charged, and we always put all of the photographs that we do put up. Like I throw like 99% of the stuff away, right? Because I went to school for photography. I have a very high standard when I put my photographs out there. You know what I mean? So, so we put these photographs. Brian put all the photographs up on social media, and this guy out from California calls me and he says, "You know that photograph that you took of the stone wall?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "There's a dog man behind that stone wall." And I go, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "I'll send you the photograph." So he sends me the photograph. And of course, I thought it was photoshopped, right? So I went to my camera, pulled out the SD card, threw it in the computer. And then there it is. Like, I can't tell you how many times I looked at this photograph, you know, 100 times on a 50-inch screen TV, and we never noticed it, you know? And then you see like a square snout with a big nose, big black nose, two eyes that are being lit up from the flash of the camera, and two pointy ears. And it kind of looks like either a pit bull head or a Great Dane's head with his ears cropped, something like that, right? So we're like, wow, that's crazy. You know, we didn't. And in another photograph, we're at a second location we called the Meadow. I was taking photographs in a 360. Every hour I get up and I do 360 in photographs. And one of the photographs, we caught like 1 million orbs in one. And again, Brian puts it up. And this guy from California calls me again. He goes, "You know, in that photograph with all the orbs, there's a Bigfoot underneath the bush looking at you." And I was like, "Get out of here, man!" You know. And he's like, "No, I swear to God." So again, he sends it to me, and again, I'm thinking it's photoshopped. I go to the camera, I pull out the SD card, I pull it up, and there it is. Again, I can't tell you how many times we looked at that photograph at evidence review, 5, 6 guys, all different eyes looking at that, and no one's seen that Bigfoot underneath that photograph, you know, in that photograph. Wow. So anyway, when we got bluff charged, that was Halloween. So that was the end of October, probably November 1st, that night by the time we got out of there. And I was being pulled back to that location all winter long. I felt a draw. I had to go back. I don't know why I had to go back, but so I called my partner Brian and I called the camera guy Bill, and I said, "Look, I'm being drawn back to the ridge. I don't know why. If you guys don't want to come, I understand, because we could have got killed that night, you know. And I don't want to put you guys in harm's way, but I'm going back, you know." And they're like, "Oh, no, you're not going back by yourself. You know, we're coming with you." And I was like, "Okay, but if you come with me, don't pull me off of where I gotta be. Don't drag me this way, like don't drag me that way, because everybody's got their own kind of sensitivities to energies, you know.
Yeah.
I want to go where I want to go, and I can't be derailed, you know. And
Right.
Brian's like, all right, calm down, Al. We'll go where you want to go, you know. And I was like, okay. So we get out there, and it's July. It's like 100 degrees out that day. And what I didn't mention is before the dog man bluffed us, we had a Bigfoot whoop at us 3 times and throw a big boulder at us. Now,
Oh wow.
we didn't know what we believe now that the Bigfoot was trying to get us out of that area because we were in harm's way, but we didn't know it at the time, you know.
Right.
But anyway, so I'm being pulled back to this location. It's 100 degrees out that day. We get maybe 100 yards from the location, and I must have been getting hit with infrasound, and body is overheating. I feel nausea. I'm weak, and the camera guy Bill's like, we should go. We should get out of here. We should get out of here now. Something doesn't want us here. We got to leave. And he goes like, Al, it's like a goat trail to get back here, you know? And if we have to carry you, there's no way 2 of us can carry you and still go across these jagged rocks, you know, to get back to the mining trail, you know? And I was like, no. Something has been drawing me here all winter long. I'm not leaving now. I can literally, it's okay. So I can literally see the location where I want to go. I'll be damned if I'm going to get stopped now, you know?
Right.
And Brian's like, well, you know, maybe it's a Bigfoot trying to stop you from getting there because it's dangerous. And, you know, and Bill's like, well, maybe it's a dog man making you sick because we're getting too close to something, you know? I don't know what it was. But anyway, Brian gave me some oranges, and I poured some water over my head, and I drank some water, and about 20 minutes went by, and I felt better. So we get up there, and we go up to the ridge. We look around. We look at the swamp below us. We go down in the swamp, and we're looking around. 3 pretty much experienced investigators. We know what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And nobody sees anything. It's like looks just like a normal woods, you know. We're 4 miles deep in. It just looks like the woods. And I'm like, I don't know. We're missing something because I've been being drawn back here all winter. Something's been pulling me. There's something here. I don't know what it is. Just keep looking, right?
Right.
So at one point, I seen this big giant rock over by the cattails, by the swamp. And a little voice in my head says, jump up on this rock. So I jump up on a rock, and the voice says, move the cattails. And I move the cattails with my walking stick. And there, behind the cattails, is a trackway going right into the middle of the swamp. And in the middle of the swamp is a den. So I called Brian. I said, Brian, get up on this rock. Take a look at this. He jumps up. I called Bill. Bill jumps up on the rock. And Bill's got like this $4,000 camera that can see the alien bases on the moon. Right? His camera is amazing. And I said, Bill, zoom into that den. And Bill zooms into that den. And he's like, dude, there is movement in that den. There's something in there. And it's standing straight up like a person. It's not, down. So we're looking at it. So Bill jumps off the rock. He says, I'm going in. I said, going in where? You two? He goes, I'm going to walk in the creature's tracks to get to the den. Well, Bill's legs are only, 3 feet long, and the creature's is like 7. So he steps into this hole, into this trackway. He goes down to his groin, and we got to pull him out. Now he's stuck in the mud.
Oh, no.
Brian and I pull him out. We're like, what made you think you were going to get in there, right? So now, all of a sudden, and this is hand to God, I swear to God, it's like the veil is lifted from our eyes. And we're seeing all kinds of stuff that we haven't seen for the first hour and a half we were there. Arches, X's, breaks, bends, twists, scat. Everything you could think of. As a matter of fact, I found something that looked like a corral made out of down trees.
Wow.
I've never found anything like this. And I looked at that thing and I was trying to figure it out if it was some place that they were using to rest in, or if it was like something that where they would drive the deer into and ambush them when they get to the end of the day, because it was made like a horseshoe. You know what I mean?
It was like a U, yeah.
Yeah, like a U or a horseshoe. Yeah, and I mean, it was just mind blowing. So then I heard a little voice in my head again say, go up on that side of the ridge, the northern side of the ridge, and walk along the northern ridge. So I go up on the northern ridge and I look down, and there is another trackway coming out of the back of the den, going straight down the swamp, right down the middle of the swamp. So Brian says, I got to get a drone. I got to fly it in that den, see what's in there. So Bill says, let's go back to my house. We'll put it on the big screen and we'll review the evidence. Sounds like a good plan. So we go back to Bill's house and we throw it on the big TV and we're looking at it. And I took a photograph. I don't know if it was me or one of the other guys, if it came out of Bill's camera or Brian's camera. I don't remember whose camera came out of, but we took a photograph of the den. I think we all took photographs of the den, to be honest with you. But in one of the photographs is the biggest canine wolf head you ever seen in your life. It's just humongous, okay? And it's looking south away from us, and all you see is the silhouette of a head and ears, right? Mm-hmm. Going down to a shoulder. Right next to that one is a one that looks like a hyena. Now, I believe this is the one that bluff charged us, okay? And it's looking right at the three of us, and it's snarling like it just wants to come out there and kill us, right?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's snarling. So we're looking at this and we're discussing this. Like, look at the size of this thing. And look at this thing is staring right at us, snarling, showing us its teeth. Like it wants to kill us. And Bill's mom comes into the room we're working in. And we're coffee and cakes. Because you guys want coffee and cake? So, yeah, sure, we'll take coffee and cake,
Oh, yeah.
And so we're and she looks at the TV. Just fresh eyes. Just walked in the room, fresh eyes. And she says, what are those two little monkeys doing in the den? And we're like, what little monkeys? And she goes, right there, they're holding that green thing's hand. And so we look at it. Now we're focusing in. And there's a creature in the middle of this den. I can only describe that it looked like the creature from the Black Lagoon. Okay?
Okay, that's about,
It's in the den, and it's holding two baby Sasquatches by the hands.
What?
And Brian is freaking out. Brian says it's a goddamn reptilian in the den with the baby Sasquatches. Whoa. And I'm like, what is a reptilian doing in a den with two baby Sasquatches and two dogmen? Didn't make any kind of sense.
No,
it was just the creepiest thing you've ever seen. Like once you see it, you can't unsee it. But it was hard to see the reptilian because he's green and he blends into the shadow in the den. And it was hard to see the Sasquatches because they're black and they're small, but you can see their hands being held like this, like their hands are up holding the reptilian's hands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. Just absolutely crazy. And so we that was an amazing experience. And we were just blown away. And we were like, this is why we got bluff charged that night, because we were on top of the ridge, right on top of this den. And we were doing all kinds of paranormal experiences. And we had a Bigfoot come in, and maybe the Bigfoot freaked out the dog man because the Bigfoot was so close,
Yeah.
And, I mean, the Bigfoot was only 100 feet away from the dog man den, you know what I mean? And I would imagine that's probably too close for a dog man and a Bigfoot to be,
Yeah.
So that was pretty crazy. So then a couple of weeks go by a couple of months go by. Actually, it's late September, early October, and it's warm night out. And I'm from the city, and if you live in the city and you live on the first floor, you don't sleep with your windows open because somebody will come in. Okay,
Right.
that's just a matter of fact. So if you even with a screen on your window, somebody will come in. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I had already taken all the air conditions out of the windows and packed up all the summer fans and everything, and had everything down packed up in the basement. And it was a hot night, and I said, you know what? I got a pistol grip shotgun on the side of the bed with a 100 lumen flashlight attached to it. I'm going to leave the window open tonight. I'm going to go sleep with the window open because it's hot and I'm sweating my balls off, right?
I hear you, yeah.
So my wife is like, you're sleeping with the window open? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sleeping with the window open. Now I'm sleeping there, and we got our little cat in between us. Patches was her name. Patches is laying between us, and I'm sleeping. And 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I sit up. I pop up out of bed. As soon as I pop up out of bed, I'm feeling there's something on the other side of the wall in the yard. So I put my hand against the wall to feel if I can feel what's out there. It's energy, you know? And I'm feeling what I'm feeling is not Bigfoot energy, you know? I've had Sasquatches come to the house and leave me gifts, but this is not a Sasquatch. So all of a sudden, the cat catches a whiff of something, jumps out of the bed, runs upstairs and hides under the kid's bed, right? So now I go over to the window and I'm looking out the window and I don't see anything in the yard. It's pitch black. I don't see anything in the yard. And every fiber of my being is telling me to close the window, you know?
Right.
And I hear something sniff. Just like that, like 2 sniffs. And I close the window and I lock the window and I grab the pistol grip shotgun and I start to head towards the kitchen, towards the sliding glass door to the deck in the back, because that's where the sensor lights are. I'm going to put them on to see what's out there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm walking through the hallway to get to the living room, I hear a voice in my head say, stop. You don't want to see what's out there. Go back to bed. Against every fiber of my being, I stop and I go back to bed. I put the gun back in the corner between my guitars, right? I go to sleep. I wake up the next day and I said, oh man, that was a weird dream I had last night. I go to work. I come home from work and I tell Brian about it. And Brian says, that wasn't a dream. You had a visitation. Go in the back tomorrow. When you get home from work, go in the back and see if there's any tracks back there, dog tracks, you know, canine tracks. Now, we had just had our well lines redone, and our well to the house is about 100 feet in the back. So we had all this dug up, so there's no grass on it. It's just nice, clean dirt, you know?
Yeah.
And I go in the backyard. I don't see any canine tracks, but underneath my window are 3 claw marks. Like something, I got goosebumps over. Like something saying, yeah, I was here last night. All right. So I was pissed. I was like, damn, this thing came to my house. It tracked me all the way to my house, you know? So I'm telling everybody about it. And everybody's like, oh, we got to go back. We got to go back. We got to go back. You know, we can't let this shit happen, you know? And I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if I want to go back. You know, I don't know if I want to push this, you know?
Right.
But I'm pissed that it came to my house, you know? And so a couple of nights go by, I would say a month goes by, early November now, you know? And it's cold out and we were supposed to get snow or something because I had all the cars in the driveway that morning. I had my daughter's car, my son's car, my wife's car, and my car. Of course, I'm the closest to the road because I'm the first guy to leave, you know?
Yeah.
But we're 4 deep, you know? And I go out every morning to start my car up, to let it warm up. So when I get in it, you know, the heated seats and everything is nice, ready to go. But when I go out, I take a little 4-inch survival knife, like a little knife like this big, that kind of clip to your belt, you know, that you could pop open with your thumb. So I got that little knife for me, and I got a can of pepper spray because recently we've been getting packs of dogs running through the neighborhood, tearing up all the garbage and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't want to be mauled by a pack of dogs. If a pack
No.
of dogs comes next to me, I'm going to fight my way out of this, you know?
Right.
So I'm walking down the sidewalk towards my car. And as I get to a certain point, the sensor lights on the front deck go off, you know? And as I'm coming down the steps, I get a feeling like there's something behind me, you know? So I stop and I turn around and look. I don't see anything in my yard, my neighbor's yards, or on my deck, but I'm getting the vibe that there is something behind me watching me. So I get in my car, start it up, I let it run. I'm walking back towards the house to go get my coffee and breakfast and everything, and I go like this under the sensor lights, you know, from the driveway to on top of the deck. I go like this because I thought I heard movement under the deck. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? Is there like a homeless person sleeping under my deck or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I flip open the knife. I got the can of pepper spray out, and I start to walk towards the garage door. And as I'm getting closer, I'm like about 2 car lengths away. And I hear a little voice in my head say, "You should stop right about here if you know what's good for you." So I stopped. Oh, earlier that morning when I got up, at 4 o'clock in the morning, we have an outside cat called Callie. She sleeps in the doghouse, right? She's Patch's mother. I feed her when I get up. So as I'm walking back to go in the house, Callie is coming around the front to use my wife's garden for her business. Okay. She looks underneath the front deck, and I don't know if she caught a whiff of something or if she's seen something. She did like a Halloween cat. She jumped straight up in the air and she took off for the woods. This is a 7-pound cat. Sound like a bulldozer going through the woods. Okay?
Oh, wow. Yeah,
she ran up in the woods. So now that's freaking me out. Like, what the hell did she see, right?
Right.
So now I'm getting closer because now I got to see what's under there because it just scared the hell out of the cat, right?
Right.
So I start walking closer, and I'm like at the back door of my son's 4-door car, son a 4-door car. I'm at his back door now. You're just the back of his car and my daughter's car left. And I see the largest canine head I've ever seen in my life underneath the deck, like hunched over, right?
Oh, shit.
And I see a mane, a black mane, like on his shoulders and on his chest. And I'm looking at this thing, and my deck is 7 feet high, and this thing looked like it was hunched over. It wasn't even standing up straight.
Oh, no.
And every fiber of my being said, back out of here now, or you're going to get shredded.
Right.
So I backed out. I get in the house, I lock the door, and now I'm thinking, what do I do? Do I wake my son up? And my son-in-law was living with us at the time. Load up the guns. I got plenty of guns, 30-06. I got 2 shotguns. I got a 30-30. I got an AR-15. I got plenty of guns. Yeah, I said, do I load up the guns and wake these people up and go to war with this thing? Or do I just leave it alone? And I'm thinking, and I'm saying, you know what? I've heard enough stories where people who go to war with these things end up having a bad time. Right. So I'm going to leave this alone. So I don't tell anybody anything. I figured if something happens, my son and my son-in-law is here. They know where the guns are. They know where the ammo is. You know what I mean? They could handle it if they had to. I get in the car and go to work. I call Brian at lunchtime. I tell him what happened. He's freaking out, you know, and he's like, dude, you know. So that when I go back out that morning, in my car, I take out my tactical flashlight with me, right? I got a
Yeah.
little tactical flashlight, and I hit underneath the deck because now I want to see if it's still under there. And now I'll be able to see it if I light it up, because I think the tactical flashlight is like 300 lumens or something like that, right? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hit the tactical flashlight, and there's nothing under the deck. So I go under the deck, and I just had a brand new cinder block retaining wall put up that summer, and it's all urine on my retaining wall, and it's going down the wall and into the drain in the driveway, and it's greasy and it's slimy and it smells like ammonia and it's oily, and I'm thinking, son of a bitch pissed on my brand new wall.
Right.
Now I'm pissed off, you know what I mean? I
Right.
just built this thing. I'm gonna have to come home tonight with Clorox and soap and scrub this wall down, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm pissed, and I'm telling Brian, and Brian's like, you know, you got to take this, you got to do that, you got to get a sample of that. And I'm like, yeah, where are we going to send it? What are we going to tell the lab? I got dog man piss, you know?
Right.
So, plus back then, it costs a fortune to get this stuff tested in these labs, you know?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I come home. So I tell Brian and Bill what happened. I said, look, I got to go back. And I just got to let this thing know. Okay, I got the message. You know where I live. I know where you live. Let's just leave each other alone, and we could live in peace, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So Brian and Bill say, okay, so we go back. We go up on the ridge so that we're a good distance away from the den. And I'm talking to the woods, basically. I'm talking to the, you know, saying, listen, I got it. Loud and clear. This is your house. You know where I live. I know where you live. We're good. We don't have to do this anymore, you know?
Right.
I went home, and that was the last time it ever came to my house, as far as I know. Then Brian and I were on an investigation at a cemetery for an insane asylum, and it was you know, we were at the insane asylum. We ran across the security guards, and the security guard said, "You guys have to go to the cemetery and investigate. We've seen 3 tubes of light come up out of the ground. You know, we won't even go back there anymore to investigate." So Brian said, and I said, "Okay, we'll go there. We'll set up a date and we'll go there." So we went there one day, and we did like a day-night investigation. And we had a lot of crazy stuff happen to us. And long story short, it's not a cemetery like you ever seen in your life. We didn't bring any weapons with us because we thought it was going to be like a city cemetery where you could drive right up to the graves and all of that.
Yeah.
I think all we had were 2 cans of pepper spray that I had in the car, you know. And I said, just take one, I'll take one. And there's no place to park. There's no signs for the cemetery. You got to park on the street and hike in about a quarter mile through the woods. And then it opens up to this big monument. And then behind the monument is a hill. And on the hill are crosses with numbers. There's no names. There's no headstone, nothing like that.
Oh, wow.
You know? So we were there and we were investigating. We did a day, night. As we were leaving during the day, we were going to go to the diner, grab a bite to eat and a cup of coffee. And then we were going to go back when it got dark. I was being pulled into the woods. And I said, wait, before we go, let's go this way. I'm being pulled here. So I'm being pulled into. Brian says, okay, if you're being pulled, let's go. We go in the woods. And we found this structure. And I don't even know how to explain it. It's like if somebody opened up an umbrella, it took the skin off the umbrella, and you just had this, like the little sticks, right, that holds the skin. But this was a giant oak tree in the middle of the woods with literally other trees jammed up into it. And it went around like a carousel or something. I don't know how to explain it, right? And we're looking at this and we're taking pictures of it. And we're like, never seen a structure like this before in our lives. What the hell is it? As we get closer, we realize that the trees that are jammed up into the oak tree are like 2 feet thick and 60 feet long. and they're 10 feet off the ground. They're not even touching the ground. What's got the strength to lift something like that up from the back and jam it up into another tree 10 feet up in the ground? And it's completely in a complete circle. It's mind-boggling. We never seen anything like that before.
No
Yeah.
human's going to do that. No, I mean,
Oh, absolutely not. No. And then Brian starts being pulled into the woods, and I'm following him, and we're getting into some really treacherous terrain. And I said, "Stop, Brian. I feel like we're being drawn into a trap or something, you know?" Because the terrain was so bad that if something charged out of those woods, we wouldn't have been able to run away because we were on this rocky terrain that was, we would have fell, you would have broke your knee, you would have broke your head, you know what I mean? I said,
Yeah.
let's not go any further. We backed out, we left. Came back when it was dark, and we're sitting in there, and now there's no place to, there's one street light on the whole block that's next to like a hiking trail, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get the Jeep, I put the Jeep up on the grass underneath the street light. We walk back into the cemetery. We do our investigation. The end of the night, it was a crazy night. I won't bore you with everything that happened, but it was insane. And we're coming out. We both have our headlamps on. We're coming out. We're on the other side of the street, a 2-lane street. And as we come out, you know, we got pretty powerful headlamps, you know. We see eye shine behind my Jeep. Orange, like yellow, amber looking eye shine behind my Jeep. So we both stop dead on the other side of the street, and we look at each other. And Brian's like, "What do you think that is?" I said, "Well, you know what has amber eye shine?" And we were hearing some crazy howls that night. Oh my God. We had dogs in the neighborhood that were going nuts all night. Oh, wow. And then this thing lets off this growl, howl. I don't know what the hell you called it, but it was so strange that all the dogs shut up immediately, and you couldn't hear another dog the rest of the night. So we're sitting there looking at it, and Brian's like, "Well, if that's a dog and it's sitting on its butt, it's about 6 feet tall, sitting on it. It's the biggest dog I've ever seen, you know?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm getting a bad vibe. I'm like, dude, I don't like this. I don't like this at all, you know? Mm-hmm. So we're debating on what we're gonna do, and we walk over to the Jeep because Brian says, "Oh, you know what? It's probably a deer, and when we get there, it's gonna jump off and run." But the vibe I was getting was this thing was hunting that trail. Now, I don't know if it was hunting the trail because the deer use it, or if it was hunting that trail because it's seen a Jeep there and thinking it was some one lone idiot running at night. You know what I mean? It was an easy target. I don't know. But we get there, and we get to my Jeep, and this thing doesn't move. It's just looking at us. And we're looking at it, and all we can see is its eyes shining. We can't, even with our headlamps on, the bushes and the brambles were so thick, we couldn't really get any detail on it, you know? Yeah. And then Brian says, "I gotta go to the bathroom, man. I gotta piss." And I was like, "Brian, get in the effing Jeep. Let's get out of here. You can go piss at the diner, you know?" Yeah. And he's like, "No, you don't understand. I gotta go right now." And I was like, "No, you don't understand. There is something here. We both know what it is, and it's not safe to be here. We got to go." And he goes, "If I get in the Jeep, I'm going to piss on your Jeep, on your seats." I said, "Don't piss on my seats. I'll leave you here, you know?" And he says, "Al, I got to go." So he walks behind the Jeep, maybe 5 feet behind the Jeep, which is only like 10 feet from this creature, and he starts to pee. In the meantime, I'm putting all our equipment in the back of the Jeep. I'm never taking my eyes off of this thing because I don't trust this thing, you know? Right. And all we got is pepper spray. And I'm going, would you hurry up already? You've been pissing for like 10 minutes. I said, can't you stop? I said, let me pull over on the other side of the street. Let's put the street between us and this thing. Let me put the Jeep between you and this thing, and you can piss on the other side of the street. And he goes, no, I can't stop once I get started, you know?
Right.
This is like a 10-minute, and this piss is going on and on and on and on. All of a sudden, this thing does something that we never expected. I don't know if it closed its eyes or if it just shut the light off in its eyes. I don't know. But its eyes, the lights were gone. Its eyes were gone. And the vibe I got was it went down on its belly and now it's crawling over towards Brian, right?
Oh, shit.
So I go, what am I going to do? This guy won't stop pissing. I jump in the Jeep and I back the Jeep up as close to Brian as I could get. And I open up the passenger door and I put that passenger door between him and this creature. You know, that's the best thing I can do at this point because he won't stop pissing to get in the goddamn Jeep. And I'm telling him, I'm going to leave you here. And he's like, no, you're not going to leave me here. What are you going to tell my wife? I got mauled by a dog, man, because you left me, you know?
Right.
I mean, his kids call me Uncle Al. He goes, you're not leaving me. And I'm like, because he knows I would never leave him, you know? And
yeah.
So I'm thinking that's the only thing I can do is put my passenger side door between him and this creature, you know?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, he got like the cold chills went down his back. And he felt like he was in danger. And he stopped pissing and he jumped in that Jeep. And we did like the Dukes of Hazzard, man. We did a donut out of there. And we got out of there as fast as we could. As fast as we could. And that thing, there's no doubt in my mind what it was. Because we heard it howl. And that structure that we found must have been a dogman structure. Because I've never seen them like that in the woods before that a Bigfoots have made, you know?
Wow.
It was the crazy, I'll send you the pictures. It was the craziest structure you ever seen in your life. And so then that wasn't one of the last locations. Then another time, again, I was coming home on the parkway from work and they were doing construction on the parkway. So I was stuck in traffic. And there's an area on the road where there's a power line and there's a cutout there, you know? And I had seen a Bigfoot up on a stone one time there sunning himself after a rain. And Brian and I went back and we found all kinds of stuff. We found arches, X's, bends, breaks, glyphs. We found all kinds of stuff. We even think we found where it was sleeping, you know, and in the tall grass. But they're up on top of the mountain. The power company has like a shed where they keep their forerunners in there, right? To get from pole to pole. Because the poles are pretty far apart and it goes up a giant mountain, you know?
Yeah.
And so they keep their forerunners in there and I guess their power tools, whatever they need to work on the power lines. And there was a dog man up on top of the roof of this shed holding on to the power line, right? The tower. And it was just sniffing like this. And it looked like something out of Hollywood, okay?
Oh, shit.
And it wasn't howling or anything like that. It was just sniffing. And I'm looking at this and I called Brian. I said, dude, you're not going to believe what I'm looking at. And he says, take a picture of it. But at the time I had a real crappy phone, you know, and I think if I blow the phone up to get a picture of it, it just pixelates and you can't see it. And if I take a picture of it without that, it's so tiny, small. It looked like an ant. Yeah.
You can't see it.
So I said, I can't. I said, no, I can't. My phone sucks, you know. And Brian's like, that's the same place where we found the Sasquatch. That day when Brian and I were out there, not only did we find all the Sasquatch sign, but we found a fist print in the dirt and a knee print where the Sasquatch went down on one knee and put its fist down. And we found those two things at that location. Now, I don't know if this thing was hunting something and that's what it was sniffing, or if it was trying to find its pack and to get back to its own group. I don't know, but this thing looked like the American Werewolf from London, you know.
Oh, wow.
But it was up on top of the shed, and like And it was weird because I'm stuck in traffic and I'm looking around at all the other cars and nobody is seeing this but me. People are either playing with their radios or talking on their phones. And I'm
Right.
like, look up on top of the hill, on top of the shed. You know what I mean? Am I the only guy seeing this? But apparently I was, you know.
Wow. That's crazy.
And those are all my dogman experiences in one group.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're probably around us all the time. We just don't, like you said, we're busy. We're doing other things on our phone.
Yeah, like I believe that wherever you find Bigfoot, you'll find Dogman. I think, they both hunt in the same locations because of the food source. You know what I mean?
Right,
You
right,
find water. Look, what do you need? Water, shelter, and food, right?
right,
And if
right,
you can find those, and they can build their own shelters, you know what I mean? And you can find those three things, then and there's ample deer and animals, especially up here where I live, there's millions of them. There's plenty of food source, I mean, I'm not living in, Manhattan, I'm living 65 miles away upstate, and there's plenty of food source for these creatures. And I think where there's one, there's the other. And I just believe that to be true, and I also believe that they both have ranges that go like circular ranges, right? And
hmm
I think there could even be a point where the ranges cross over one another. And I think what they try to do to avoid any kind of conflict, again, one man's opinion, I don't know this for fact, it's just my opinion. I think what they do is when they rotate around that range, they rotate around differently so that they're never in the same location together. Because I
right.
think if they're both at the same location together and they're both hunting for food, that has fight written all over it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
there's something bad's gonna happen out of that.
Yeah, it'd be just like a mountain lion killing at something, and then a wolf coming along trying to take it from it. There's going to be a fight for sure for that kill.
Yeah, I seen a map the other day that Doug Hychek put up on his. I was watching one of his shows,
Okay.
and I think Maine had the most forest coverage. It's like 89% forest,
Okay.
and I live in West Virginia, and we was like 79%.
Well, the United States alone, just the United States, has over 800 million acres of forest land.
That's a
Okay.
lot.
That's a lot of forest. There's a lot of forest where these creatures can live, and and it doesn't, like where I live, we have closest big park to me is called the Catskill Mountain Range.
hmm
It's 250,000 acres. Okay. And
Yeah.
then if you go a little further north than that, you have the Adirondacks, which are 3.5 million acres. You know what I mean?
Oh
So
wow.
there's a lot, and that's just in the location. And one of the locations that, well, all of my locations that I'm doing, I have like 5 different locations I do Bigfoot stuff at,
Uh-huh.
and each one of those locations, each one of these parks are a minimum of 1,500 acres, and that doesn't include the natural forest around them. Because
Right.
some of them is county land, and then you have state land behind that. Then you have towns, town parks behind that. So it all adds up, But so there's a lot of forestry land that these creatures can live in, and I believe they come and go as they please.
hmm
Like I said, there maybe down south where the weather is warm all the time. Maybe they're there all the time. But I know the Sasquatch is up here. It's the snow doesn't affect them. You know what I mean? They're not snowbirds. They don't go south for the winter. They stay. You know, the snow just does not bother them. And I'm thinking if the Sasquatches don't have an issue with the snow, the dogmen probably don't either. You know?
No, probably not. I mean, wolves.
Yeah.
A wolf, runs out in Yellowstone in the wintertime. I mean, that's.
Oh yeah, you got the Arctic wolves. They're up in Antarctica. You know what I mean, running around.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they live just fine up there. But I'm just saying, I don't think they go. I mean, I think the only time they leave is if they want to go back to their realm for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I also believe that, like, I believe I found a couple of Sasquatch graves,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if these creatures die here, they can't bring them back into their dimension, because I think they need their energy and vibration to change their frequency so it turns into all energy to get through the portals,
Mm-hmm.
So if you die here, they bury you here, you know what I mean? Because they can't bring you back to where you came from.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming the dogmen would do the same thing as the Bigfoots, just to hide the body. You know what I mean? So that it doesn't get eaten by other animals or discovered by more humans. Because the last thing you want are more humans, running through your hunting area.
Right. I was talking the other day on a show, and like I was explaining to them, I've lived in West Virginia all my life. I'm 49, going to be 49 years old. There's black bear everywhere. In my lifetime, I've only seen one black bear. We was getting ready down here. You can run black bear with your dog.
Okay.
So there's a training season. So we was just out with the dogs, just riding around, going out this goat trail, and a bear run. We just seen him. He crossed the road, run up to a high wall, tried to go to the top. He grabbed the limb, and it broke. You know what I mean? He come barreling ass down, run right across from us, broke two trees, and I would say pine trees that big around just took them out.
Right out.
Let her roar and was going. And that's the only one I've ever seen. And I've hunted all my life, been in the woods.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I've taken a lot of abuse from my friends and family over this stuff, over the years. I've hunted all my life. I've never seen this. I've never seen that,
Right.
And then when they do have that experience, they call you and they say, yo, cuz, you're not going to believe what and they tell you about this experience, and then they never go back to the same hunting area that they've been hunting for 30 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's not like they were, like the creatures were coming after them. It's just the fact of seeing the creatures. You know what I mean? Like I tell people all the time, when you see these things for yourself, your brain cannot comprehend what your eyes are seeing. Your brain shuts down because they're not supposed to exist. It's, as people say, why don't you get that photograph? Your brain shuts down because your brain can't believe what your eyes are seeing. These things are so big and so massive. It boggles the mind when you see them up close and personal. It just does. And your mind shuts down, like time slows down almost to a standstill, and the last thing you're thinking about is taking a photograph.
Right.
Yeah, believe me, that's the last thing you're thinking about.
Yeah, I believe you there. I ain't had an encounter yet, but hopefully one of these days.
Well, it's just all you got to do, like I tell everybody who goes squatching, don't do like these idiots on TV where they're walking around the woods all night long, making all kinds of noises. Find yourself a squatchy location that has all the signs, the bends, the breaks, the twists, the arches, the X's. Hunker down there, and if they're in the area, they will find you. They will come in and find out what you're doing there. They will come in and look at you. They will sneak up on you. They will watch you. And if you're doing anything like playing music or something like that, they will definitely come in, so I mean, if you really want to have an experience, that's the way to do it. Get yourself um, some Native American drum music or flute music, find a location, hunker down, play the music, and just sit there and wait. And they will, if they're in the area, they will show up. They will. Especially if you're playing Native American music, because that's something that they know what it is, and they're attracted to that. I particularly I use the flute music because I find it soothing. The drum kind of makes me crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
but I find every time I play that flute music, man, doesn't matter where I am. I got 5 different locations. I put that music on. I hunker down, and they come and they I've had people tell me, like I was just on a show the other night with this famous psychic woman, and she told me that my aura is so bright that it's blowing up the room I'm in. Like right now, she said it's going through the walls. And she says, Al, when you go, she goes, before you even go out, they know you're coming. And she goes, they know you're coming. They're waiting for you. And every time I go out, no matter what location I go to, they always come in, you know what I mean? And check me out. And I do gifting, never gift food, just trinkets, bells, whistles, squeaky toys like the dog toys. They love
Mm-hmm.
that. They love that crap. Marbles. I mean, they just love uh, anything that squeaks or makes noise and stuff like that. They love. I would never do food, but if I were going to do food, I would do whatever grows naturally in your area where you live.
Uh-huh.
If it's in the spring, whatever blooms in the spring, in the during the summer, in the fall, nuts. Do nuts. If you're gonna do food, do all kinds of nuts because they're harvesting those nuts anyway. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're good. They're going to eat whatever is available to eat, so they know what to eat at different times of the year, what's coming in. But don't give them something like I would never give the Sasquatches up here in New York uh, a lemon or an orange because it just doesn't
That's
grow in
not.
New York. I
Yeah,
give
yeah, it's not. Yeah,
No,
native.
I live on an old apple orchard. We still have apple trees in the back that still give us apples, and we know they come back here all the time for the apples. So I'll give apples and pears and stuff like peaches, stuff like that if I'm going to give food. But don't give them sweets. It's not a natural food for them. We don't know how it breaks down in their body, what it does to them. You know what I mean? The last
Yeah.
thing you want to do is give one of these big guys a cavity, and then
Mm-hmm.
somebody like me goes in there and this thing has got a toothache and it takes it out on me. No, don't give them sweets, even if they love sweets. We all love sweets, you know what I mean?
Right,
But
right.
it's not good for us. Give them fresh fruit, give them fresh vegetables, stuff like that. Meat. I know a couple of researchers, like I was talking to you before about my friend Chris Reinhardt from Big Berkshire Mountain Bigfoot up in Connecticut. He
Uh-huh.
had a friend that his partner was given meat, and then they were coming to his house and banging on the wall because they
Oh
wanted
yeah.
more meat. You know what I mean? So
Bad
that's
idea, huh?
yeah, that was a. I told Chris, I said, don't do meat, man. Do fruit and vegetables. Don't do meat. And he was like, well, my partner. I said, okay. And then he started banging on this guy's house, and then they just switched over to fruits and nuts and vegetables and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah. So do think, just be respectful when you're out there, and clean up after yourself. And if you're going to, don't disrespect their area. If you find a location that's a hot spot, don't do anything to disrespect it. Don't urinate in it thinking that you're the big dog, because your head may come popping off at some point. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you have to urinate, walk 100 yards off out of there to urinate. Don't urinate. I would never urinate in any of my locations. I walk 100 yards, and then when we do have to go, we go in pairs. We never go off to urinate by ourselves because we don't want anybody getting taken, you know. And if you do go out with somebody else in case you get hurt. You have somebody who can get, you know, first aid for you, stuff like that. You know, just be smart when you're out there. Don't do anything stupid. Don't If they throw a rock at you, don't throw a rock back. You don't have to throw a rock back. You know what I mean?
Right.
We get rocks thrown at us all the time, but they never hit us. Never ever hit us. You know. But when they want us to leave, they let us know. You know, they'll snap a branch that sounds like a 30-06 going off by your head, and that means it's time for you to go. You know. Don't push them to the point where they have to rip trees out of the ground and throw them at you, you know. So be respectful, and you know, you can create a rapport with these Sasquatch people. That's what I'm calling them, a Sasquatch people. You know, the Native Americans up here say that they were supernatural. I believe that they are supernatural. I believe not only can they raise their vibration enough to go through portals, but I believe, because I've interviewed enough hunters, you know, where guys said, hey man, I had the thing, my crosshairs in my scope, and then it just disappeared. I don't believe it disappeared. I believe it raised its vibration to change the spectrum of light it was in. And then you couldn't see it anymore. And you thought you disappeared, and it waited for you to look the other way. And then it just hid behind a tree or a rock until you left. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I can't tell you how many hunters I've spoken to that said that, you know. And every track I've ever found has only been 1 foot. A right foot or a left foot. It's never been a trackway except for the Dogman one that went into the swamp. But other than that, it's always been a right foot and a left foot. And I don't know what happened to the other foot. You know what I mean? It's mind-boggling. So maybe they took 1 step and then went into a portal or whatever. I don't know. But, you know, prime locations, you want to be in a location where there's shelter, food, water, fresh water, and shelter. You find a location like that, you'll find sign if you know what to look for. And you know, I told Kyle was going to go to Rhode Island one day, right? And I was like, dude, why are you going to Rhode Island? There's a park literally 10 minutes from your house where there was a sighting, you know. And Kyle said, oh, that park is small, Al. It's only like, you know, 100 acres. I go, but it butts up to the second largest state land in Connecticut. That's like 17,000 acres. I said, and there's a sighting there. I said, that Bigfoot that they seen in that little park doesn't live in that little park. It came out of the big one. You know what I mean? I said, so go to the big park. So he goes, okay, I'm going to go. So he went, and he was doing like he always does, live streams, everything, you know. And he was walking past stuff left and right. And I'm trying to text him saying, stop. You just walked past the glyph. Stop. You just walked past an arch, you know. But by the time it got to him, because there was some kind of delay, he was already 100 feet away. He didn't know what the hell I was talking about, you know? Yeah. But he was like, oh man. And see, now that's the kind of place where he should go. It's 10 minutes from his house. Go there, find the location that's got all the signs, and hunker down and wait for them to come in. Because I guarantee you, if he went there every week or once a month or whatever, and he hunkered down, he will get his experience. But see, he's a loner. He's a lone wolf. He always goes in by himself, and he won't go in at night by himself. He needs to get in there at night. If you want to have an encounter with these creatures, a really, really profound encounter, you have to go in at night. They're nocturnal creatures. That's when they're out moving around. that's when they're hunting, because they know we're sleeping. We're not around to see them, you know?
Right.
And that's when you have all of my, I've had some experiences during the day, but most of my great stuff happens to me when I'm at one of my hot spots at night.
Uh-huh.
You know, and then I'll have like the really good stuff happen. They'll come in and everything. You know, I brought a couple of ghost hunters out with me one time, and they weren't afraid of the dark. You know, like, oh, we're not afraid of the dark, man. We had a night that was just off the charts. Let's put it this way: when we got back to the Jeep, they say, "Well, scratching that off their bucket list. They're never going back in the park ever again." You know what I mean? One day I'll tell you the story. Next time I come on, I'll tell you about my Bigfoot stuff, and I'll throw that one in there because it was an amazing experience. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get you back on here for the Bigfoot one. Yeah. Hey, there's Robin. She's in the crowd tonight.
Oh, I love Robin.
I do too. I had her on here, and she was telling me they like the little Hot Wheels cars.
Cars,
Yeah.
the little Hot Wheel cars. Yeah. You know, I've never given them a little Hot Wheel car. I've given them a lot of little trinkets from like the dollar store. I'll go out and I'll buy
little stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've never done the Hot Wheel stuff though.
Daryl Denton I heard him tell his story. He bought a bunch of little plastic whistles, you know, when we were kids.
I do whistles all the time. Whistles and even the plastic flutes that you
get. The little recorders. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yep. I do plastic whistles. Absolutely. Like I said, they love things that make noise, you know, and those little cat balls that light up when you shake them.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You can see those things walking through the woods, going up the ridge, you know what I mean? I don't know what they do with them when the batteries die, but, you know, they have a ball with them, you know. It's funny to see those little things walking up, going up a ridge, you know, just keep going. You see them, because they're walking, and so they're shaking, so the ball is lit up. I love that stuff, man. Yes, little stuff like that. They love it. It's harmless. It doesn't give them the wrong idea about you. You know what I mean? I don't particularly feed them any kind of food, but like I said, I'm a toy guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try it this summer. If I can get my back to let me get up in the woods up at my dad's house, because there's a place up there that it's a great big field. It's woods. There's a field, woods, a patch of woods, another big field, and there's woods all the way around the top of it, you know. And it is full of blackberries and raspberries.
Wow.
I mean, it used to be clear when I was a kid, but you know, the farmers let it grow up, and it is just full of blackberries and stuff. And I figured that's probably a good place, because I'm sure they eat blackberries and raspberries.
Yeah. Sure, black bears are there too, though. So be careful, yeah.
Yeah, well, they just this year or last year, one of the neighbor's friends put one of the trail cams up, and he got a great big black bear on his trail cam.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
It went down his corn feeder thing, you know.
When you hunt the bears, what kind of dogs do you use?
I ain't did it in years,
okay.
But usually just coon hounds, you know.
Coon hounds? Just coon hounds? Okay.
Yeah, it's just coon hounds.
Yeah, I got a story about a coon hound incident. Now that you mentioned it, my neighbor who's born and raised up here was talking to a couple of his friends who were they were coon hunters, you know? Uh-huh. And they were talking about this park, and I was always taking my dog. I had a 125-pound German Shepherd. I was always taking my dog there hiking, you know? Never thought to look up on anything to see if there was any Bigfoot sightings there. But one day I'm hanging out with my neighbor, and a couple of his friends stopped by, and they're telling them about this experience. They were up off the Appalachian Trail, because the Appalachian Trail runs through this place. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you know, we're walking with the dogs, getting ready. And they got small, you know, get 22 caliber guns, small guns. Yeah, and they're walking. I think they both had red bone hounds, you know, pretty big dogs, you know.
Yeah, they're big, yeah.
Yeah, and they're walking through, and they're coming off the Appalachian Trail, and they're going to this park, and in this park, there's a spot that we call the campsite, where people camp. You're not supposed to, but people do all the time. And the Bigfoots go in there, and they mess with the people, And so these two guys are walking with their dogs, and they're getting rocks thrown at them. So they stop and they're talking to each other. Did you hear that? Did you see that? There's a rock, man. So they think it's high school kids hanging out at the campsite, having a party, or maybe some guy with his girlfriend fooling around.
Yeah.
So they say, hey, listen, if you don't stop throwing the rocks at us, we're gonna sick the dogs on you,
Right.
So the rocks keep coming. So they both look at their dogs. They go get them, right? So the dogs take off, charging where the rocks are coming from. They get about 10, 15 feet away from the two hunters. They stop dead, put their tails between their legs, and they run past them all the way back to the truck, which is like 1.5 miles away. And they're hiding under the truck, right?
Right.
Well, so these two guys look at each other like, we can't believe the dogs rings. The dogs never run from anything, And so they said, and they can't figure out why the dogs are running, and what kind of person is over that would scare the dogs, especially two big dogs that size. So again, one of the guys says, and I'm just hanging around eavesdropping, listening to the story, And one of the guys says, I told the kids, I said, listen, you're throwing all the rock, I'm putting a round into the tree. Sure as shit, another rock came out at him. So this guy put a round in the tree. And when he put a round in the tree, he said, a 7 to 8 foot Sasquatch stepped out and just screamed at him. Both of them.
My gosh.
He said they turned and ran as fast as they could, 1.5 miles back to the truck, nonstop. So when they got to the truck, the dogs were underneath the truck. The dogs were still shaking. They were so scared. They got everybody in the truck and they got out of Dodge, and they said, man, we'll never go back there and coon hunt again, And I heard this story. So I went on to the Appalachian Trail, reports. And I'm finding all kinds of Bigfoot reports off the Appalachian Trail in that area. And I was like, oh, man, I got to get back here,
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, so those are the people they run into, people who are coon hunting at night, And those guys are carrying small guns. So, that's not going to do anything to something that size, Maybe piss it off.
I used to do it when in my younger age. I used to go with my friends. They bring their dogs over, and that's all we carried was a little 20. Usually a 22 pistol. Just something you could have on your side.
These guys had, I believe they both had rifles. But like I said, this is pea shooter when something that big steps out.
Oh yeah, you're gonna run.
And when it screams at you, you just don't. When you hear these screams on YouTube and you hear people, I can't emphasize enough the kind of power that they put out. Man, I'm telling you, it just knocks you backwards, and all the liquid in your body just vibrates. You can feel the water and the blood in your body vibrating. That's how powerful it is.
Oh my God.
It's a powerful, powerful scream. Just unbelievable. I can't emphasize it enough. When you hear these YouTube screams, that just, even if the damn recorder is up close and personal, when you play it back on TV or through it loses. And you can make it as loud as you want. You can put it through an amplifier. It loses the power of the actual scream when it's live in person. You can raise the volume up as much as you want. You're not going to get that same force behind it. It's unbelievable. It really is.
Yeah, I remember going to I think it was the zoo or something. Maybe it was a carnival or a circus in the old days. And I remember hearing a lion roar, and that goes through your body
yes.
It's so loud and deep, you can feel it, it vibrates you.
We were at a park up here, upstate New York, and they had the lions, and the lions were down in a pit, and they were at least 300 yards away from us. And one of the days, we went there a lot with the kids when the kids were small because it was close to us. We went there, and one day we went there, one of the lions was having a bad day, and he was letting out these growls and these moans, and it was so powerful. Every other animal in the zoo was freaking out,
Oh
just
wow! I figured.
freaking out. And it was like this zoo had black panthers and all kinds, and the panthers were like up in the trees shaking, you know. And I was walking. I wanted to go see what was making the lion crazy, but my kids were freaked. They were so scared because it was so scared because it was vibrating every fiber of your body. This thing was so deep and so loud. My wife was like, I'm not going any further. I'm not bringing the kids in. And we were like 150 yards away. And I was like, I got to go see. I got to go see because I've never, you know, the last time I experienced anything that felt like that, it was Sasquatch related, you know, and to feel it coming from a known predator, a lion at a zoo. And this thing was just going crazy. I mean, it was so, like you said, it vibrates every fiber of your body.
It goes through you.
It goes through you.
It's something that you got to experience it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, all the years I was going to the zoo, I went to the Bronx Zoo like 6 million times in my life. I never experienced that. And then we started going to the zoo up here by us because there was a water park not far from it. And we used to go there every summer for our vacation for the kids, you know. And some days, if it was like a nasty day, a rainy day, we'd go to the zoo. And one day, one lion was, I don't know if he was in heat or if he was hurting. He was having a bad day, and it was scary, man. People were running away from the lion exhibit because it was so scary, and I was going towards it because
you wanted to see what was going on.
My own two eyes, man. I was like, oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, I never heard anything like that other than from the Sasquatches. You know, that was crazy.
Are they that loud? Like the lion? Is it just kind of like that?
Yes, it's exactly like that, only more forceful.
More forceful?
More forceful, yes, more forceful. Yeah, it's more forceful, it's bigger, it's deeper, more powerful, but exactly like that, just amped up.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard the lion. I could imagine hearing something.
Yeah, so if you heard the lion, then you have a good idea of what you're in for when you hear one up close and personal. Wow. Yeah, because that lion, like I said, I heard the lion do it too that one time, and that was the closest thing I ever heard to a Sasquatch, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, you guys don't build a fire in the woods at night? You just sit there with your lights off?
No, what we do is we usually take glow sticks with us, and what we'll do is we'll put a circle of glow sticks around us for ambient light.
Mm-hmm.
We have headlamps, you know, obviously when we're walking up and we're walking out. But I use the glow sticks for ambient light because A, I don't want to set the woods on fire, and B, I don't want to give away my location because it's, you know, it's the sacred site, and I don't want anyone else to know where it is. So if there's somebody else hiking along the Appalachian Trail or through the park who's not supposed to be there, they'll see a fire. You know what I mean? So. I don't. So I use glow sticks. That's what I use for ambient light, and I always have my headlamp on. So, but like I said, I'll use Native American. I'll use a Native American flute music. I'll use a Tibetan singing bowl.
Yeah, I heard Brian talk about that.
Yeah. The first time I brought the Tibetan singing bowl out with us, that's when we had the Bigfoot come over to us. Changes the whole energy of the woods. Everything changes when you use those bowls. Now, the bowl I use, there's like 7 different bowls. The bowl I use it's called the Crown Chakra. It's the smallest bowl of them all. That's the reason I got it, because it's the smallest and lightest. When you're hiking 4 miles in the wood, you want to take as light as light stuff with you, you know. But yes, I use the Tibetan singing bowl. That works great with the frequencies. I use the Native American music as well. I also use different kinds of aromas. You know what I mean? Like I'll burn
Oh, okay.
but I'll use specific kind of incense at different locations. You know, and they'll smell the incense and burning, and they'll come in and to see what that is. You know, because there's a couple of different things that they absolutely positively love, and when they smell that, they got to come in to see what it is. You know what I mean? And some I guess they're disappointed when they get in and they just see it's an insect burning and not exactly what they thought they were going to find. But it does the job. It gets them, bring them in. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
there's different incense you can use. There's different tones, frequencies. I know that's the Ben Singer Bowl is one, and then there's different kind of music. I know a lot of people use drum because the natives were big with drums. You know what I mean? So a lot of people like the drumming stuff. I don't have anything against it. It's absolutely you can use it 100%. I just find that the flute music keeps me calm, makes me calm and mellow. Like when I'm trying to meditate, I'll
Uh-huh.
use the flute music. You know what I mean? It's the only thing that's ever worked for me. You know, so
Uh-huh.
that's why I use, the music calms the savage beast, so I want to keep them as calm as possible. I
Right.
don't want to put them on the warpath.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, wow. Well, it's a very interesting discussion tonight.
Yeah, no,
Really.
it was a good, nice talk. Absolutely. Like I said, next time I come on, we'll talk strictly Bigfoot, and I'll tell you about all the different experiences and places and all the stuff that happened and everything. But there's a lot of I've had a lot of aha moments over the last few years
Yeah.
that and I got people that I go to that have been around a lot longer than me.
Uh-huh.
And when I reach out to them and I ask them questions, like it's funny because I'll talk to these people and they'll never tell me anything, right? They won't tell me anything, and then I'll have an aha moment, right? And
Uh-huh.
I'll call them, and like I said, there's like a half a dozen people, and I call all of them to see what each one tells me, if they're different or if they're all the same. And they'll say, okay, now you've experienced this. Okay, this is the road you're going down now. Stay on this road, and you'll experience more stuff. When I say, why don't you just tell me what to do so I can have that experience? And they like, no, because they were all taught by the Native Americans, and the Native Americans told them you have to experience it at your own time. When you experience it on your own time, it comes naturally, and then you could move forward in your growth, I guess, knowledge wise. So
Yeah.
they'll never tell me anything straight. Like, they'll never say, yeah, I'll go here and do this. They'll say, go here, let me know what you experience. Call me when you get back. And then we go over everything. And it's so I mean, there are a couple of people that I've taken under my belt over the years to try to push them along so they don't have to do this for 25 years before they learn these things, you
Mhm.
know. But very few and far between. Very few people I trust enough with that kind of information.
Right. Right.
But it's going to help these people who I think are going to be the next generation to take this to the next level, get there a lot faster than it did for me. You know what I mean? And I appreciate everything that the senior guys and girls did for me. Just even to this day, I'm still using them. You know what I mean? I
Right.
appreciate everything they tell me, but like they said, you have to, if you experience it at your own pace in your own time, it's natural. It's just a more natural thing, and it's just the way it's supposed to be according to the Native Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe you there. There. It makes sense. I mean, they was they. Didn't they trade or something with Native
Some
American?
traded with them, some fought with them. It depends on what part of the country you're in,
Right.
and some stole the Native American women and the children, and it's just others had great relationships with them where they traded with them. They even ate with them. They had feasts together. And so it all depends on where you are and what tribe you're talking to, depending on the relationship they had with them. Some have them on their totems, some don't. Because some think they're evil, some think they're like my psychic on my team. She's Native American. I believe she's Cherokee. She's fifth generation psychic, and she calls them the guardians of the woods.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's absolutely amazing. We never tell her anything. And like 3 days before we're going to do an investigation, she'll call me and she'll say, "Where are you guys going? What are you guys doing? I had this come to me in a dream, or I seen this, I seen that, and then we tell her and she says, okay, sometimes we have to leave people. We always, whenever we go out with anybody, whether it's squatching or ghost hunting or look at, aliens doing C5s, we always have everybody get vetted through our psychic, and she'll tell us who can go and who can't go, because a lot of times this guy's got bad intentions. He can't go because he's going to do something stupid and it's going to screw it up for everybody. He can't go. This guy on this side has subconscious fear. And if you go into the woods with subconscious fear, something dark will attach itself to you. You're like a beacon for it. Mm-hmm. So, we've had everybody who comes with us. No one gets past my psychic. And like I said, when you go out, just be respectful. No matter what you're doing, no matter what you're investigating, be respectful. Don't have any ill intentions, because they know your intentions.
Yeah.
Intent is very big in what we call the paranormal world. In the big picture of the universe, it's normal, but intention is a biggie.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll call it a wrap there tonight. Thanks for being on my show. I'm honored that you come on.
Don't be honored. I'm honored that you invited me on. Just a regular guy, and anytime you want me, just shoot me some dates, and check my calendar. We'll work something out.
Yeah, we got to get into the Bigfoot one the next time.
Yeah, like I said, I could talk Bigfoot, I could talk UFO, I could talk ghost hunting. As a matter of fact, I'm going out tomorrow night with a whole group of paranormal investigators. We're investigating a haunted museum. I'm pretty lucky where we live. We have a lot of paranormal teams, and we all actually get along with each other. We like each other. So every time somebody does something, they'll invite a couple of different teams to come along with us. So tomorrow night, I'm going all old school stuff. No ITC shit, no high technology. It's all old school, all throwback to the old days, and see what happens.
Well, I hope you guys have some good luck.
Me too.
Pick something up. Yeah. Well, everybody, we're going to call it a wrap for tonight. Thanks for coming, being in the chat. I really appreciate it. You guys have a good night, and I'll see you next Thursday. So, well, everybody, good night.
Good night, everybody.